Good evening, guys. Point High Book Club time for April. Where's the time going? It's going super duper fast. But we're going to be talking about Teacher's Pet. So, hi guys, hi Emma. And we're going to be talking about Teacher's Pet tonight. This is the one cover I've got. And then I've got this like super duper shiny cover, which I don't normally like, but this one's pretty cool. It's quite shiny. Oh, my first Point Horror Book Club. Oh, welcome. Let me know if you can hear me okay. So I had a problem with my earphones, but if there's a problem, let me know. Let me try and add Kendare in. Right, just go in now. Okay. Kendare should be here soon, hopefully. Fingers crossed. How you all doing? Hiya. Oh, hello.
Hi,
Hello, you all right?
how's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. Just popping up my volume because whenever I do a live, for some reason, Instagram makes you very quiet.
Yeah, it does.
It's ridiculous.
No,
It's
it
like, come on.
does. I just said if anyone can't hear us, just let us know because I've got some weird headphones on which I can only hear in one ear for some reason.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
don't know
the
why,
joy of
but I can
the
hear
joy of
you.
headphones.
But yeah, thanks for joining us. I was just saying we're going to be chatting about Teacher's Pet, which used to be a favourite of mine, but I may have changed my mind on the reread, but we'll see. But yeah, so as I say, thank you for joining us. So we've got New York Times best-selling author Kendall Blake with us, and you're the author of several novels and short stories. So many. I've got a few of them here. So it's like anthologies, like this one. This
Ooh.
is so good. I loved this with all these short stories. Brilliant. So highly recommend checking that out. And then you've got the Anna Dressed in Blood series, which I've got here. And then many more, like the Three Dark Crown series. So many. Where do I even begin? And then recently, we've got All These Bodies, which is absolutely brilliant. I really love this. It's super shiny, this cover as well, and it's so
It
nice.
is.
Pretty.
It's so shiny. I love that they did the shiny.
Yeah, it's really nice. But this is about 16 bloodless bodies, two teenagers, one impossible explanation in the summer of 1958, and a string of murders plagues the Midwest. And I really highly recommend it because it's really good. And then most recently, we've got In Every Generation. Ta-da! Um,
Yes.
so good. Continues the world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and we all love Buffy. And featuring the next generation of Scoobies and Slayers, who must defeat a powerful new evil and a new Slayer for the new generation. How did it come about that you got to write like a Buffy series?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it came out of the blue. Somebody at Disney must have heard that I was a Buffy fan, and one of the senior editors there, Kieran Viola, was a Three Dark Crowns fan. So when it came time to recruit somebody to
Yeah.
write the new Buffy series, they thought of me, and luckily they did because I was gonna
Yeah.
obviously jump at that. So exciting.
Oh, yeah, so exciting, and hope we get more of those as well. Fingers crossed. But
Yes.
yeah, fingers crossed. But Richie Tankersley Cusick, who wrote Teacher's Pet, actually did write some of the Buffy series in the 90s. I think she was part of the Buffyverse novels, and she wrote like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and The Harvest. I think was one of them that she wrote. Um, so I thought that was like a nice little tie-in to
Yeah,
read this
for
book as
sure.
well. Yeah. So did you ever read point horror as a teen, or is this like your first kind of venture into it?
You know, I did. But in my mind, I had read so many because they were like, I read them at school, like my friends and I would like have five different paperbacks just rolling around and we just pass them in between classes and
Yeah.
then ignore our teachers and just read them. instead. So in my brain, I had read so many. But when you contacted me about Point Horror Book Club, I kind of fell down the rabbit hole of point horror books and realized there are so many.
So many.
And I did not read hardly any. I'd never read Teacher's Pet. I'd read and I'd read a bunch that I thought were point horror, but were actually just like Fear Street or like different, like very similar in the similar vein of young adult horror paperbacks, but they weren't point horror books.
Yeah.
So I think I read Freeze Tag, I read The Hitchhiker.
Oh, yes.
I read one weird Christopher Pike one that wasn't even horrifying. It was about like a girl who was an angel or like God or something, and she made really good cookies. I don't even know.
Ooh.
I couldn't even find that one.
If anyone knows what that's called, let me know, because that sounds just
if
something
anybody knows what that book is. Her name was like Sadie or Safi. It started with an S, and she just was a young woman that everybody adored, but she kind of came out of nowhere, and I swear it was Christopher Pike. And she just made really bitchin' cookies. That was the thing that I remember most.
Isn't it weird, the things that you remember from books? It's I'm like that as well. A few people are saying it was Sati, Sati. I don't know whether I'm saying that right. Is that it?
Yeah. God, that was a weird book.
Oh, well done, guys. I didn't know that one, but I'm going to check that out, definitely. So another reason why I picked Teacher's Pet for us to read is you love animals. I mean, I love animals and you love animals, and you've got quite a few, and they've got really interesting names. So do you want to just tell us what your pets' names are? Because I love it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, of course. I have two dogs. Agent Scully is named after, of course, Agent Scully from the X-Files.
Yes.
And her Doberman brother is named Obi-Dog Kenobi from Star Wars. I have two cats, and the oldest one is named Tyrion Cattister from Game of Thrones. So he is
so
of House Cattister, the first of his name. And I have a Sphinx named Armpit McGee. So I have a hairless, just a naked little rugrat.
Oh, and they're so adorable. They're so lovely. Yeah. But yeah, so obviously I thought, because of the cat on the cover, and I've lost my other copy. I've put it somewhere, but I'll use this one. But the cat on the cover.
I was excited to see the cat.
Yeah, but a seriously underused cat though in this book. Like, they didn't use Pet very much in the end in there. But we'll get to
They didn't, which I was glad, because I was kind of worried for Pet at certain points. It's like, are we going to find Pet at some, I don't want to find Pet, laying in a bush somewhere. That's not, even though she was kind of like nasty at
and got accused of all sorts, like stealing people's clothes and things like that, and shredding them up, just, like cats do, apparently.
Like cats do, yeah. Although, I mean, she was a little weird. She was kind of a strange cat.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it explains a lot as we go into the book. I think it explains a lot. She was obviously, maybe copying her adult peers in some way, maybe. But yeah, very very weird, but cute. She sounded cute. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Oh yeah. All cats are cute. Even evil cats are cute.
Yeah. So what I'll do, I'll just do a brief introduction to Teacher's Pet. So some of the chat might be a bit tongue-in-cheek, but the love of point horror will shine through. We're all here for the point horror love. If you've got any comments, pop them up and I'll try and read them out as we go along. And just to make a note on this one, there's some aspects of mental health that I didn't feel was fully represented correctly in this book, but this book is from the late 80s, early 90s. But I just wanted to put like a little trigger warning there just in case, because there are some topics that will probably be brought up that I just wanted to warn people about. But yeah, so the tagline for this one is "Look what the cat dragged in," which I just think is brilliant. Such a brilliant tagline for a book. But essentially what Teacher's Pet is about is Kate Rawlins, our main character, loves to be scared and wants to write a book someday that will really terrify people. And after winning an annual fiction competition, she's bagged herself a writer's conference trip to a remote camp in the woods with her teacher and budding romance writer, Miss, is it Bunceton? I think you pronounce it. We'll go with that. And with the possibility of meeting one of her favourite authors, William Drew, Kate is very excited, and like the rest of his horror groupies, is hoping to meet him. And she's assigned to this cabin 13, so you already get that feeling that something's not going to go quite right, and then crazy things begin to happen. So Kate discovers that William, the author that she wants to meet, is actually missing, and his brother Gideon, so the names in this book, Gideon has taken over his lectures, and basically she falls for his teacherly charms and ends up like kissing him in the woods, which was really wrong. And she also befriends this cowboy called Denzel Doyle, classic point horror name there, from the 90s, just brilliant. And the lovable poet Tawny, who I loved. And then we have creepy caretaker Pierce, which we'll talk about later, more on him. And it all becomes very like point horror meets like a really dodgy reality TV show where they all just get together. And yeah, so basically all these things go on. She finds severed hands, things in her bath, blood written things on her mirror, and no one exactly knows what's going on. And she spends a lot of time in the woods. And basically Richie Tankersley Cusick is telling us what really happens on these writers' retreats. Do you think? Maybe? Is this what goes on?
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's standard.
That's
at least one of those things happens. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so pleased. So basically we'll start off with Kate then, our main girl. What did you think of Kate? Did you like Kate, or did she get on your nerves?
No, I liked Kate. She's a writer, and that I'm always more sympathetic towards writer characters or bookish characters. Anybody who likes writing in books, I'm like on their side immediately. As the story went on, there were just so many elements to it that felt very classic, Fear Street, point horror, and then all of a sudden, like everybody wants to make out with this girl. Everybody, every single boy or man, since there was kind of like a large age grouping that really wanted just to, have these golden moments with Kate in the woods.
She must have been like something else, like honestly, that everyone wanted to get with her, didn't they? Everyone.
Yeah. I didn't see the Denzel thing coming. Like I thought like they were very platonic, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, she wants to make out with Kate too. What is happening? Does Pet want to make out with her?
Oh, just everyone. She was just, yeah. So it must have been the green eyes, I think, and the way she could apply first aid really good as well, couldn't she? She was good at first aid, but
oh my gosh.
Yeah, but if you put a garbage bag or a severed hand in front of her, she'd like scream like a proper psycho scream. And I kind of loved that about her. She was like, I'm not scared. And then she's kind of just screaming and being really
she'd
like...
always leave the evidence, of course, because you can't bring the evidence, because then it'd be real evidence instead of everybody just thinking you're crazy. But like she finds the hand and she just like drops it and runs. I'm like, no, grab it,
take it with you. Yeah. I was like exactly like that. I was reading it and I was like, why have you left it on the floor? That's the evidence. Take it with you. Eddie's put, this book should have been called Camp Creepers. yeah, that's true. And Karen's put, everyone in this book needs to go to jail. It's there was some inappropriate goings on, like there was the whole obviously she goes into the woods for about 700 million times. She goes into the woods, but one of the times she goes in there with Gideon, the teacher, and they have like this kiss, and I was like, well, how old is she meant to be? And like, is that appropriate? It's
I wondered that too, because
yeah,
I mean, Kate can seem very mature, and so I thought, well, maybe she's, a college student. Maybe these are college age kids. But when I first met Denzil, I couldn't get a bead on his age. At first, I thought like he was like a fun little camp kid who just like hung out in the kitchen because he had the cowboy hat and he pinched her, and I'm like, these are not the actions of an adult person. So I
no,
pictured him for at least like a half a chapter as just like this cute, gangly kid, maybe eight,
yeah,
9, 10. And he just had like an oversized cowboy hat, and everybody just kind of humored him because he's like the weird kitchen boy or
yeah,
something. And then it's like, oh no, he's meant to be about her age.
mm,
That is odd. So for a long time, I couldn't get um, Denzil, like I couldn't get him down correctly because he's such
yeah.
an odd duck.
Yeah, he was, and then you've got the side of the spectrum where you've got Gideon, who's obviously doing these lectures, and he's in this like teaching position. Who he seemed a lot older. I think he was described as being in his 20s, but obviously he's in this position of authority. So should he really be taking Kate into the woods? And yeah, very
Yeah,
weird.
yeah. It was very, and Miss Bunceton like gets there, basically gets her settled, and then she's like, "Tra-la, I'm gonna go learn a bunch of euphemisms about wangs. I'll see you later." I mean, I would love to have a writing teacher like that who just like
Oh.
ditches me. She's like, "I'm gonna go write sex scenes now. Bye-bye." But
She liked a bit of spiciness, didn't she, Miss
yeah,
Bunceton?
I
Yeah,
love Miss Bunceton.
I
That was,
loved her.
I'm glad nothing happened to her, like nothing bad except that poison ivy, which.
Oh, yeah, when she was sitting down to write her like romance scene in this like idyllic setting, and then she sits on the
Yeah,
poison ivy. Oh, bless her. She
nothing worse than, it'll kill. It's a real mood killer, that poison ivy.
Uh, but the thing is with Miss Bunston, she was never there for the critical point. She was always off writing her romantic scenes, and then they just ship her off to hospital after the ivy, and then you only ever see her right at the end. But then at the end, she's kind of like, "Did you have a nice time, dear? Oh, I hope you weren't bored." And Kate's like, "No, I wasn't bored."
No,
So she's just
no, it was
oblivious.
good. Where the heck were you, lady?
Oblivious to everything. Oh, bless her. I think we all need a Miss Bunston in our life. Definitely. She was great. um, so with Kate, she did talk to herself quite a lot, I found, and she was like obsessed with that glove once she'd found it. But I do think she was quite reasonable. She had like I did like the fact that even though I mean she said she wasn't scared when she quite clearly was, but she carried on. She still went into those woods. She still stayed in the cabin. So she had a bit of balls, really, I thought. And I thought for a point horror girl, I did kind of like that. I can forgive her for some of the other stuff.
Yeah, oh yeah, she definitely kept putting herself out there. Like she was there to have an experience, and that's exactly what she got. I
Yeah.
don't know that she got much useful writing done. I don't think I don't know that she learned like a lot of useful writing skills. Like maybe she got a great story to tell out of it, but as far as developing her craft, but if Gideon's to be believed, then she was already really
She was
good.
already there, yeah. She didn't
So who
need the
needs it?
writing
Like she didn't even
machine.
need to be there.
Yeah, they didn't get a lot of writing done, did they? I didn't actually. I don't think they, other than Tawny writing her
Tawny.
poetry.
Yep.
She not much writing got done really. Um, but I think the most scary scene for me was the bit when her cabin has been ransacked, so Kate's cabin, and there's like she describes it as like blood everywhere, and then there's like teacher's pet written in blood on the mirror, and then there's something been left in her bath which you don't quite know what it is. And then the classic, she goes and gets Denzel, comes back, and even though the blood's still there, whatever was in the bath isn't there. but for me, that whole scene, like, what did you think of that scene? Because I just thought that was like quite graphic for a point horror as well, with the amount of
I
blood.
don't really remember how graphically violent these books got. Like it's been a really long time since
Yeah,
I've read one.
I would
So I couldn't, I
say
mean,
it
that didn't
was.
strike me. I thought, well, there's blood and there's something dead, but you don't really get a great
Mm,
description. I was really worried that it was Pet. Um, but there's so
yeah.
much blood. Like, where did they get all this blood? And from how it was described, I'm like, that's like a person amount of blood. So, like, yeah,
No,
that was
definitely.
weird.
It kind of reminded me of a scene. There's a TV series that I don't know if it was on in America or just over here, but it was called Harper's Island, and it was like a murder
Mm.
mystery slash slasher set on this like remote island. And there's this scene that's very similar with something's left in the bathtub, and there's like blood everywhere around the log cabin, and it just kind of reminded me of that. And I thought, oh, might have to rewatch that now. It was good. I would honestly highly recommend it. It was really good. I just saw somebody put about oh, don't go off that path, and then Kate immediately goes off the main path in the woods constantly. Um,
Of course. It's a classic horror move. Don't go somewhere? Well, I mean, obviously I have to go there. There's always going to be a reason that you just have to disobey that very useful. And then like the skinny dipping. That
yes.
really caught me off guard. For one thing, I kind of thought that it was really cold. Like it was like fall time and
Yeah.
chilly. I'm like, girls, no. No, stop doing this.
Well, I mean, Tawny kind of encourages her to like do it. She's like, "Come on," and like, because she's quite a free spirit and stuff like this. And I kind of liked that in a way. And like, it kind of gave me like slasher camp, vibes, like Friday the 13th and things like that. And I thought something bad's going to happen here in the water. Yes. But yeah, someone basically steals their clothes. Well, steals Kate's clothes. Tawny found hers. But Tawny was running around naked, wasn't she? Trying to find
For
her
quite a
clothes
bit. Yeah,
for a
she was
while.
just, on the hunt. Tawny didn't care. She was just, she's gonna find it. She's gonna solve this mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I really like Tawny.
Oh, she was so great. She was great. Especially with her, like, she loved the poetry. And I think, does she burn so she's working in the kitchens and she burns the muffins, or doesn't she drop a contact lens in a cake or something like that, was it?
Yes. So if you get a
Um,
crunch, it's not a nut.
it's not a pine nut, it's the contact lens.
It's the contact. That was like the funniest thing. I felt really bad for her, and I love that, at some point in all of these books, everyone is a suspect. Like
Yeah.
they throw shade, there's always these little red herring touches that it could be anybody. And for a while I thought, well, it should be Tawny because this poor
Mm.
girl is just getting dumped on by her friends constantly,
Constant.
telling her how stupid she is, and she's like the sweetest one. So like Tawny just better be ready to kick some ass. She's
Yeah.
burning this mother down.
Oh, she's my favourite character, and we just needed more of her. And I did think, I thought I could remember the end of this one from when I read it back in the day. But it did cross my mind. I thought, is it her? Have I got this wrong from what I remember? Or could it be her? And do you know what? I think it would have been a better twist if it was her, because she was just that great. I think she would have pulled it off. Like, she's like this cunning plan and things like that. I think she would have pulled it off brilliantly.
Maybe it's because, I mean, usually, I don't know, I haven't read all of them, and I guess I haven't read that many, but like usually isn't the villain supposed to be particularly villainous? And if it had been Tawny, we'd have been like, cool, burn it down. Like, you are justified.
Definitely. Um, Ghost in the Pages has put Tawny was my favourite character too. She was just so fun to read. Yeah, she really was. And I just saw someone else put about, I think it was Lisa from B for Book, she's put about the Muffin Madness poetry that she did, which I think was like muffin madness, my early morning sadness, and it's just I just needed more. As I say, she's the only one who did any writing on the on the writing
Yeah.
retreat. Oh, bless her. But yeah, she encouraged that skinny dipping scene 100%. And I think, didn't she blame Pet for stealing the clothes? So Pet would have had to go backwards and forwards to pick up all of the clothes. Because there's no way the cat could have carried all of them. So yeah.
Yeah, unless she was a very weird, strong cat who, 'cause that's a lot of pieces of clothing to
Yeah,
move.
yeah. You never know. Weirder things have happened in Point Horror. We've had someone transport bees from a park into someone's locker at the school, and we still have never figured out how she did it. But yeah, it remains a mystery. So stranger things have happened in a Point Horror. Emma's put she wanted Denzel to be the psycho. So did you ever suspect Denzel at any point in the book at all?
I mean, I did because, they wanted us to when they let slip that he had been a former student, who might have
Mm,
been disgruntled because of some bad feedback. And I think, as writers, we may have understood that. Like,
mm.
yes, someone gave me bad feedback. I'm going to return the next semester and just totally murder everybody in the, no, um,
He could have
but
done.
I never really thought that it was going to be him
No,
for
he
whatever
was.
reason.
He was. He was a bit inappropriate sometimes, wasn't he? He did touch Kate quite a lot without her inviting him to touch, like in her pockets and stuff like that. And I just thought maybe a bit too far. Like you've only not long met. 'Cause this has only been like a couple of days. It's not been like weeks.
That's
Um,
this. They became like very fast, familiar friends with the skinny
mm,
dipping and she was wearing his tiny shirt for a long time.
yeah.
Like
Oh
with
gosh.
only the shirt just down to just below the thigh line.
And he keeps looking at her
And
legs all the
yeah, and
time.
he's
And
looking at her legs, which I still couldn't, in my head, he was still like half of a 10-year-old. So like all of the touching, it didn't, I'm like, oh, well, he's 10, they touch. It's
yeah.
fine. But then when I think of him as an actual like older teenager, this is odd. He's just odd.
He's so odd. Um, Lune's put Denzel was brutal to Tawny. He had an irritating air of superiority about him, and he did. I think he did. He kind of loved himself a little bit, didn't he? With his like, I think he had like owlish grey spectacled eyes. It was described as, and this cowboy hat, and he kind of
Yeah,
thought he
so
was something.
when you imagine that, I mean, doesn't that sound like a guy with huge glasses, like huge owly glasses, and like a misfitting cowboy hat? That's just not a character you see in a lot of things. Like he was definitely a standout, and yeah, he was a
Mm.
character for sure.
And Kate always ran to him, like always. She just trusted him completely, even though she'd only met him for a short time. Every time something happened, she kind of ran to him, and in a kind of way, and being a bit harsh about him, but he did try and always keep it away from Tawny to try and protect her because obviously he's saying well, she wouldn't be able to cope with hearing that. So maybe he's misunderstood, and he was a little bit more protective than what we gave him credit for, but still
Yeah.
weird.
Oh, I think definitely deep down, he really cared about Tawny and that. I did think it was weird that she did just run to him all the time. Like,
Mm.
where's Miss Bunceton? Once again, like, why don't you tell this poor woman that any of this is happening? Like, she's the only other person that you know, and she's your teacher. I have to believe that you've got some kind of like relationship there. And if you think anybody's in danger, she'd be like, "Hey, Miss Bunston, stay on the path. I've been finding severed hands and such, so you know."
Miss Bunceton was just there for the
Yeah,
obviously for her own reasons,
yeah,
definitely.
she was just there for the spice.
to become a mum's put, and because Denzel, he was so eager and keen to help Kate, but that made him a bit too obvious. So yeah, so maybe it's too obvious to be suspected as the killer. Yeah, it was Homecoming Queen that had the B scene, which we've never figured out. But yeah, Luna's pointed out, but she also blamed him for everything. So at some point, Kate did suspect Denzel of doing the things, and that. So she did she was a bit suspicious herself. But yeah, he's an interesting character. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of him, I think. And Karen's put, this book would only have made sense to me if Miss Bunceton had set up the whole thing, abducted Kate, and hired the male version of Mrs. Havisham. Oh, we need that. You need to write that, Karen. That's what we're missing in our life. And OG Nostalgia's put, Miss Bunceton was too busy thinking of synonyms for engorged. Yeah. She loved it. She loved it, honestly.
Yeah. She got a lot of good writing work done, I think. Like, she had a whole list of synonyms for engorged by the time the week was over.
She did. Oh, bless her. Oh, we just need a book on Miss Bunceton, and that's it. So Gideon, who's the teacher, so the apparent love interest, well, one of the many love interests.
One of the like 5, yeah.
I mean, was there anyone really that she didn't kiss? But yeah, so he was like, let's call him the main love interest. So he kind of gets in there first, and I feel like he kind of had like this weird British accent going on, apparently, giving British men a bad name in the process. But I mean, even that, for me, he was just a bit boring, and like, I don't know, I just didn't click with him at all, and I just couldn't get past the whole teacher-student thing. And even when he's like that scene, which is his Mr. Darcy scene, but with an axe with the wood chopping, it was just, I couldn't see it, and it just didn't match the person that I'd been reading all along. But what did you think of Gideon? So, did you like him, or?
I mean, yeah, he was fine.
I'm being harsh.
I mean, he was in that, he complimented her writing, so, and he singled her out for the special tutoring and the special critique sessions. So you knew, either you hoped that he was being sincere, but also there was the missing brother, and, oh, you must be so upset. I'm like, no, I hated that douche. And it's like, okay. So yeah, there was a lot going on. And with Pierce being set up as instantly creepy, and then you've got this other guy being set up as instantly warm and like golden glowing beauty man, your instincts kind of go off like, that's going to be a reversal. Something is going to happen.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think there was a description of him as well, because he had like violet eyes, and then at one point I'm sure he wears like this bulky knit sweater that is like the same colour as his eyes or something, and it just tickled me, because I could just imagine him wearing this sweater. It just matched his eyes. I just couldn't.
I know, like, that sounds okay on the page, but if you'd actually see it, it'd be hilarious.
It's like bright violet jumper, and like, just that matches his eyes.
Just big cable knit violet jumper, just marching through this very moody, writing campus.
I wonder if he was like chopping that tree with the axe in the jumper. That's all I want to know.
That's ridiculous. Somebody needs to film that scene. Like, that needs to be. That's classic point horror thirst trap right there.
Oh yeah, we've scarred you all for life during this chat now. That's all you're going to envision. That's what Mrs. Bunceton was writing about, was like these knitted bright violet top and all the spice, and that's what she was doing. She was using it as inspiration. lots of people in the comments don't like Gideon. To become a mum's put infatuated after one class, because it literally was one class and he was like in love with Kate. As I say, she must have been like one of the most gorgeous point horror girls we've ever come across.
Yeah, well, and he'd read her story, so he might have been a little bit taken by her writing before he met her. And then when he saw her and she's like super hot too, that's just like bonus. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's true. Yeah, I forgot that he'd read Miss Bunceton had sent ahead the story, hadn't she, to him, and he was giving her feedback, giving Kate feedback on it. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. So yeah, he was already infatuated with her before she got there.
Can I ask you if there's something that you noticed? Because something really stuck out to me in this book, and I'm just curious if you noticed it too,
Yeah.
that Kate never eats.
Yeah.
It's like,
No,
dear
no
God, all the
eating.
stuff that you're doing. Miss Bunceton is like having hearty breakfasts, and these are, really nice. She's hanging out in the kitchen all the time, so you're thinking about food and you're hearing about the muffins. And every time they ask her if she wants something to eat, it's like, no, I'm not hungry. Or every time she has her plate, she's like pushing it away without eating. I'm like, started clocking it. I'm like, this is day 4, no food.
No
Kate is
food.
delirious by this point.
No water. Yeah, now you say it. Didn't notice it while I was reading it, but now you say it. Yeah, she must have been starving. No wonder she was
She
like
must have been just
running around
starving.
the
All
woods
I
all the
wanted, like,
time.
some of this food has to be amazing. That's what I always look forward to when I take a trip and I go stay somewhere. I'm like, what's the grub like? And she never found out.
Yeah, to become a mum's put where was the marshmallows? Nerissa from the Point on Pike Sheets put who goes to camp without snacks? That's so true. Who does go to camp without snacks? Oh, this is it. I never thought of this, Eddie's videos put how this camp remained open after so much death and inappropriate illegal behaviour is beyond me. Oh dear. I think we said this. We read last year, we read one called Camp Fear, and we don't know how that camp stayed open either because there was all sorts of goings on at that camp as well. This is why we like Point Horror, We get to experience these things without actually going to them. Maybe it was all hunger-induced hallucination. Ah, interesting, Karen. That explains it.
More theories.
Yeah. Eddie's videos put, I was like, Katie's crazy. The first thing I do when I'm stressed is eat.
Exactly. Like, all I wanted from just sit down, get a nice plate, think it through. You'll come up with a solution over a meal.
Yeah. Oh, but this is where she went wrong. This answers everything. Karen's put, wait a minute, all her snacks burnt down in the fire. Yeah, but the fire was at the end of the book. So, yeah, she just didn't eat anything. Oh, poor girl. Bless her.
Just left all of that stuff. And Denzel's constantly offering to, like, get her something to eat. I'll make you something to eat. We'll go to the kitchen.
Oh.
What a lovely offer.
I'd be like, oh yeah, what you got? 10-course meal, nom nom nom.
Yeah, exactly. I would use my trauma as an excuse to get them to cook more things for me.
I'd be like, oh, I saw a severed hand.
Yeah.
I need some
nearly
vegetarian
died.
dishes. Oh, that's all I'm going to think about when I go on trips now. I'm just going to be like, oh, think of the food, think of the food. So Gideon was always saying about, did I know what I meant to ask you? Did you notice that Gideon was described as having, I wrote this down just so I didn't get it wrong, long fringed lashes? Like, how can they be fringed? Like, I don't get it. Is it me?
I read right past that description, but I don't know what that would mean either.
It was just so weird. I was like, fringed lashes? I was just imagining like lashes with like lashes hanging down,
Well, I
like
like
little chandeliers.
in the US, fringe means something different.
Oh,
Like
okay.
we call it's bangs. We don't call it fringe.
Yes.
So, but it still doesn't make any sense if that makes you feel better. Like even with American style English, it doesn't to have like long fringed like I no, I have no idea what she meant.
No, no. It was just something I wrote down. I was like, what is this? What does this mean? And he always, as well, had a bent head. Like every description that he was like in, he had a bent head. So it was like Gideon was in the driver's seat, head bent upon the steering wheel, and like I think he was surprised to see Gideon getting out of the van. She stared at his bent head as with his
Well,
hand on the door, and I was like,
yeah,
oh.
he's got such a burden, such a burden on his shoulders with these. He's that brooding kind of
Everything.
hero full of secrets and all of the family traumas that he couldn't, I think it was weird that he was even teaching. Like he had so much on his mind. It was just weird that he would even show up.
Karen's put, I think the fringe in the UK is like 90s curtains. Yeah, so like the 90s curtain style hair, but why would his lashes be so if anyone can explain it to me, because it really confused me. I was like, what?
Yeah, if we
Um,
could just get a picture, if someone could post some fringed lashes.
yeah, if you could just recreate the style or,
Hmm. And
go back
then,
to the
add in the
90s.
lilac jumper. That would be,
Oh, yeah, that would be next level Point Horror Book
yeah.
Club, that would. Yeah, definitely. Um, and Gideon had this like obsession with talking about fear as well, and he was like, everyone is afraid of something, and one of his quotes, I think, is fear is a personal perception, and we can control fear to some extent by writing about it. Do you think that's true? Do you find that when you're writing?
Um, well, I mean, any real fear, I've never tried to write any therapy in for myself. I've never tried that. Um, I think it's fun to control fear on the page. That is true. I mean, it's a
Mm,
safe place. It's like, riding a roller coaster because it's very scary, but you're going to live. So it's like a safe way to be terrified.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, yeah, he is right about that, I would say.
Mm.
Good on him. Good
Oh,
job.
good
Good
on
teaching,
him.
Gideon.
That's the only good teaching that he did the whole
Yeah, no,
retreat.
just more of that and less making out with students. That's my notes for him.
Oh, bless. Um, so then so spoilers ahead for the reveal. But hopefully everyone in this chat has read the book. If not, I apologise. But the reveal ended up being that Pierce, who was he was described originally as Igor by Denzel, I think it was. But he was like the chauffeur slash caretaker slash tall dark zombie type of person, Pierce Cronan, and he had like midnight black eyes, and he was very mysterious. And I would say he was like quite a Scooby Doo villain, where he would have got away with it if it wasn't for those pesky kids kind of thing. And you kind of knew at the start there was something a bit weird about him. Um, so well, I had to read the ending a couple of times just to get it in my head what was going on. But what did you think of Pierce when you first met him before we knew about the reveal? Did you suspect him?
Well, Pierce went through a lot of changes, didn't he? He
Mm,
went from like foreboding and just mean, like you wouldn't like him at all, to
no.
being described as like an Igor style zombie. So that doesn't make him sound very attractive. And then you're making out with him while his foot's stuck in a bear trap.
But
So,
can I point out the bear trap? He actually set himself. He actually set himself, and he's trod in his own bear trap.
But as he had disassociated into his
Mm,
other personality,
yeah.
so to the extent that, I mean, yes, it is ironic when you wind up in your own bear trap, but I mean, yeah, I don't think he
Yeah.
felt foolish about it because he didn't remember doing it at the time. But that was the weirdest moment for me with Pierce is when he's in a bear trap and then he's just like, "Oh, look at Kate, and let's just make out a little bit, even though I've never been nice to her before, and also in a bear trap." I think that was the biggest thing for me.
And the thing is, Kate at that moment, so he's in absolute agony. She's had to rip open this bear trap, and then obviously trying to stem the blood. And I think the blood just turns her on a little bit, to be quite honest, because every time there's blood around, severed hands, she goes off snogging, kissing the Gideon and stuff like this, and now bear trap. She's kissing Pierce, but it was so random, like. And it was almost like Miss Bunceton had written this scene herself, because this is what she was saying just beforehand about what she wanted to write in her scene for her romance, like someone lying on the grass or something like that. I think it was,
That
but
is such, yeah, that is such a good like observation. Like I feel like
yeah,
Miss Bunston, if she was watching the scene unfold, she wouldn't have stepped in to help. She would have just been like, "Kiss,
carry on.
kiss, then I'll get you an ambulance. But
Oh
first, you have
dear.
to make out." Yeah. So I thought Pierce was he was portrayed as being so dark and mysterious that I was really surprised that it turned out to be him because I thought he was
Mm,
just a huge red herring. Like I thought he would actually become like the hero of the piece. Like it would
yeah,
wind up being Gideon and then, "Oh no, you should have been with Pierce all along. He was the really nice one." But
yeah. But it
never mind.
turns
I
out
guess he had his real Anthony Perkins psycho moment.
not. Definitely. Um, Raj has put, yeah, that kiss with Pierce was weird. Um, yeah, and Emma's put she's the real nutter, so Kate, because she's kissing the dying guy. And she's like, it was just so random. I didn't see where it was coming from either. It was so
That
weird.
that got me too. I'm like, I get you don't want to leave him, but
Yeah.
it seemed like she just instead decided to stay with him while he died. Like you're not that far from help. You can run back in like 15 minutes. You could find Miss instead she's like, "No, we're just going to stay here as the sun goes down and I've got to keep you warm with my body." It's like, or instead of just waiting for help to come for 2 hours, just go get it in 20 minutes, Kate.
And the thing is, she didn't know Miss Bunceton had sat in this ivy and had gone back to the camp. So Miss Bunceton wasn't that far away, really. So surely if she just even shouted help or something, but no.
Yeah, or anything. She didn't try to
Mm.
signal anybody. She just thought, well, I'll just keep him warm, kiss him a little bit, and then everything will be fine.
See, I think we're blaming like Gideon and Pierce for all this, but actually, the ringleader is actually Kate. She like collars these men in these like situations and thinks, "Oh, I can have a little kissy here and take advantage."
And
Oh
the
dear.
only one she resists is poor Denzel.
Oh, I think did they have a little kiss at the end, her and Denzel? I was a bit
Did they?
confused.
I might have
I'm
read
not
past it.
sure. I wasn't very clear on the at the end who she was actually gonna get with, or it was very confusing. Cameron's put, why did he tie her to the corners of the bed? Ah, so okay, so this is so the ending then. So we find out, so there's a sister, so the Drew family had a sister who died in a fire, which was accidentally, no, it was set on purpose, wasn't it, by Pierce to try and kill William, who is missing and severed in little bits all around the camp. But actually, he ended up killing Rowena, who he was in love with. And then he kind of took on her persona and her personality. as like, as you say, like disassociating from Pierce to become Rowena. So there was this whole end scene where Pierce was Rowena. But Karen's put, why did he tie her to the corners of the bed? So Kate gets captured kind of at the end. Was he or Rowena about to reenact scenes from a new adult smut book because that was totally unnecessary for her being murdered? Yeah, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the scene at the end of Urban Legend where I can't remember the character's name, but the main character's kind of like tied to this bed. And then the villain, not to spoil it, but the villain is like telling her why they're doing all this. It kind of reminded me of that, so that's kind of how I took that ending. And
I
someone's sorry,
I
go on.
love that when Pierce would appear to her previously as Rowena, after you knew that it was Pierce, you had to go back and rethink those scenes because Rowena must have looked huge, just huge in that, like the flowy skirt and everything, because Pierce is described as such a big guy, like a big hulking, and he was, doing that weird voice and like that would have been terrifying. I understand why Kate like hit the road, after she saw Rowena the first time, because she's like, this ghost is mad large. Like this is a big angry ghost.
And like I did think that myself actually, because I did go back to that scene where she first meets Rowena, and I was thinking, how did she not know that was Pierce? Like, how did she not know? It doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, Pierce must have done a really good Rowena voice. That must have been like the thing, and he must have adopted her mannerisms so completely.
Yeah.
Like, it was very like I'm trying to think of like the glimpses that you get of Anthony Perkins in Psycho when he's his mother, and it's like you didn't really think that it was him. Like you thought it was an older lady. So yeah, but there were so many twists that came out right at the end of this book, and I mean, that felt very familiar too. Like I do a lot of point horrors, just kind of like boom, boom, boom at the end.
Yeah, at the end, like the last few pages, and sometimes you do have to go back and just reread what you've read because it happens so quickly. So you do get quite a lot of build up in point horror, and then it just goes, straight at the end. But yeah, with this one, it was quite confusing. Especially like, so Gideon, at the start of that whole scene, he was before she gets tied to the bed, and she hits him over the head with the vase, but he's like acting really weird, and then later he said, oh, I was poisoned, and I thought, no, you weren't poisoned, you were just being you.
Well, and then it made it even weirder when they brought Tawny in as fake Rowena.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that Pierce would like go back to himself and try to save the fake Rowena, even though he was just embodying Rowena. It got like that final scene. I had to read it like twice as well, because I'm like, wait, what?
It was really confusing.
Like Tawny saves the day.
Yeah, but I bet that wasn't her idea, bless her. But I'd like to think in my head that it was. It's like at the end she was like, I know what to do. I need to dress up as Rowena and do this and do that, and I'll save the day. But then she doesn't really get much credit for it. And Denzel, who comes in and like, I think punches Rowena, even though that feels really wrong, but Pierce / Rowena punches and kind of saves the day, and he's like, oh, you're the hero, and I'm thinking, no, actually Tawny was the hero in my opinion. Definitely.
It's an interesting and also William Drew was killed in this most terrible fashion, and you're finding pieces of him every once in a while, but then it's just kind of glossed over. Like, oh yeah, he was dead the whole time. Too bad. I wonder if we'll get a refund on that class.
Yeah, and it's like they didn't really care much about that. Oh, yeah, that, you know, William's severed body is all around the camp, but Rowena can't remember all the places she put the pieces of body. And I'm like, oh, it's so classic, such a classic. Um, Everyone's putting, yeah, the oh yeah, thank you, Hazel Webster. It was Alicia Witt in Urban Legend who was tied to the into the bed. But yeah, Raja's put the whole ending was confusing. And Karen rightly has put Tawny dressing up as Rowena was the worst. So this poor guy obviously has mental health issues, and she's like, "Lols, look, I'm your alter ego." So that's when I say, like, you know, for its time, like, this would be written very different, in my opinion. Like, in modern day, this would be written differently. But for its time, I think it would probably had a good shock factor, that ending. And I think I do remember reading it as a teen, and that's why I remembered what the ending was, because I think I was so shocked by it. But nowadays, I think it would be handled very differently, in like a modern day setting. Um, but yeah, it was very, very bizarre.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Like, well, he does get help though, right? He doesn't die at the end.
no, I think they do
So,
get him
like,
help. Yeah, at the
it was
end.
like crappy that they had to have fake Rowena, but I mean, it was just to like get Kate out. Like, it was in an emergency
Yeah,
situation, and they
yeah.
couldn't think of anything else, and they had a Tawny. Why not use her? But yeah,
Oh, I love
I
her.
felt bad for Pierce when you realized, you know, what had happened, and um, I mean,
Yeah.
yes, what had happened was he'd been trying to kill someone and he killed the wrong person. So really, was it that great to begin with? No, you were still trying to kill someone. But yeah, it was very,
Oh.
you know, very tragic with their love story.
Yeah, and obviously there was all these underlying issues about like their parents that had died in the car crash and stuff. So there was obviously a lot of issues in that family. So yeah, they needed to get some kind of help, I think, because they went through a lot, the Drews and
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Pierces.
that they did. They felt like a very classically gothic family, like
Mm,
with secrets. It felt like a lot of other families we've seen on the screen or in horror books where the sins of the father and the tragedy just compounds and compounds until it explodes.
mm,
And then, you know, all that's left is poor little Gideon and his jumper
yeah,
and everyone
his
else is
jumper
gone.
and his fringed lashes.
Yeah. Yep, just one little tear down from his fringed lass, and then, you know, his only friend is going to need a lot of mental treatment for the rest of his life,
Oh,
maybe. And his sister's dead, and his brother's dead, his parents are dead. I mean, man, this is pretty bleak. And
but
Kate's
then
just
he.
like, see you later. I hope we'll write.
But I was just going to say at the end though, he still goes in for the like flirt with Kate, doesn't he? He's like, oh, you know, flirting in the hospital bed or wherever she is or he is, or you know, before she gets on the train back, he still goes in for the kill there. Oh, you know, you've got to give him one thing. He doesn't care what's gone on as long as he can get his Lego. So Lisa from B for Books, but listening to you speak in the plot out loud makes this truly sound as crazy as it was. The book was batshit crazy, and I loved it. Yeah, but I think, you know, this is why we like point horror, especially like reading it as an adult now. You just realise how crazy it was. This explains a
Yeah.
lot. Now I'm older. This is what I read as a teen, so it explains quite a lot, really, doesn't it? Oh dear. Karen's put, just knock the guy out. Don't make his psychosis even worse. And Gideon trying to kill Rowena while Tawny pretends. Oh, Karen, you didn't like Teacher's Pet. She did message me, Karen, bless her, saying she wasn't a fan of the Teacher's Pet. Um, did anyone call the police when they found the hand? Yes, Narissa. No one called the police at any point. classic point horror trope. The police are never there.
Like, I get it if you don't call the police when you found the hand because they basically convinced her that, like, no, it was just a heavy glove. Like, it was just a glove with a bunch of crap in it. But as soon as your cabin is filled with blood and a dead thing, that's when you call the police,
Straight
okay?
away, yeah. And I think Pierce at that point, he ends up like standing at the door, but he kind of says, "I'll make sure I report this." Report it to who? Because who? He didn't report it at all.
No, he was just like
Um,
gonna report it to custodial. That was all. I'll get this cleaned up straight away.
to become a mum's put no because Kate wasn't all too sure and didn't have evidence. This is about the police. So you'd think the police would have been called after the cabin. Yes, that's like what you said. After the cabin was attacked, that's the time to call the police. Was Pierce drugging everyone's coffee as he drugged Gideon's? Oh,
Hmm.
maybe. You never know. Oh. Um,
But maybe Kate was immune then because she never ate or drank anything.
that's why she didn't eat or drink. She knew. She knew there was something going in the coffee. Oh dear. And to become a mum's put, I didn't have a problem with the main story, but I think it could have had a different title, and the writing retreat could have had a completely different story. Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of the point horror authors were given the titles, and then they could just do what they kind of wanted with it. And I have got an interview with Richie Tankersley Cusick, which is on my blog, and it was quite interesting to see how what title she was given, and what she was told to kind of write. Sometimes it's quite interesting how they did it with the point horrors.
Oh wow,
Um,
that is really interesting. I would
yeah,
never have guessed that they just gave him a title and said,
it didn't happen
"What do you
all the
got?"
time. Yeah, it didn't happen all the time, but I know definitely a lot. Some of her books, she was just given the title. I think the Lifeguard, she was just given the title and was told just to do kind of what she wanted to do with it. And I'm just guessing that maybe with Teacher's Pet, she kind of just thought, because I think she's put a lot of herself into this book. I kind of think like maybe maybe it was based on like a real experience for her, and this was the therapy. I don't know. Maybe she went on a writing retreat and strange things happened.
I would love to know. I would love to know that. Like, I would want to know. Like, I would hope that there was a Miss Bunceton, a real Miss Bunceton in her life, you know? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be good to know.
And I just wanted to point out about Tawny as well, because I forgot to mention it earlier, was that I couldn't get it out of my head that she was like Karen from Mean Girls. That's all I pictured the whole way through. I was like, that is Karen from Mean Girls,
That is
without a doubt.
totally
Yeah,
Tawny's boobs know when it's raining. That's 100% yes.
that's it. Oh, but you can see it now, can't you,
Yeah.
Karen? Yeah, definitely. Um, so overall, then, so I liked the book. I mean, I loved it back in the day, and I did like it now. But obviously, with an older head on my shoulders, you see, the bits and pieces that they could have done differently. But we have to give it grace to a certain extent because it was from the very early 90s, and things were different back then. But for me, I liked it because it had like the classic horror tropes, like the Axeman and the camp setting and things like that, the skinny dipping, and there was plenty of like "I'll be right back" moments and stuff like that. And you had that dash. I'm going to say a dash of romance, even though it wasn't very romantic while your foot is in a bear trap. But we'll go there. But I enjoyed like the gothic aspects of it as well, and like the insane twin and the old house and the kind of Jane Eyre like overtones of it. So like overall, what did you think of the book? Did you like it and enjoy it? Would you read
Oh,
it
yeah.
again?
I mean, I read it with a certain frame of mind, that I was going into one of those classic Fear Street kind of point horror novels, and anything goes. I knew there were going to be a ton of suspects, a reason to suspect everybody. I knew there was going to be some kissing because I
Yeah.
seem to recall that there's always some kissing, and there's often like not a lot of lead up to it. So that I was pleased to see that that was still the case. But yeah, it was just what I remembered in that it was the perfect book to like sneak into a class and it would be more interesting than whatever your teacher was saying. So, but they're like small enough that you could get them in your back pocket or like
Oh,
slide them in between your
definitely.
notebook. Easy to read on the sneak. So,
Oh,
yeah.
no,
Yeah,
definitely.
I
And I'm
enjoyed it. It
sure,
was such a nostalgia, like total,
mm,
total infusion of nostalgia, which is always fun.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm sure that I snuck mine into my, my school bag a few times and snuck it out because I was always reading when I shouldn't be. And probably point horror, definitely. Um, to become a mum's book, when I was a teen, I went on a writing trip with school at my height of reading point horror, so you can imagine all the stories I was writing. So we visited atmospheric places to inspire our writing. So maybe were you sent off to like, so you know they send Kate off to like the cave to like for inspiration. So does that happen at these writing retreats? You get sent off to these like remote places, even with all the strange goings on going. Oh dear. Have
And
you
there
been
was a
on?
lot of this sounded like a really cool place to have a writer's retreat, right? They've got all these
Yeah.
cabins. They've got like a manor estate. They've got classrooms. They have academic buildings. There are woods with beautiful pathways. There's apparently caves. There's a pool that's like there's a lake that's appropriate for skinny dipping. I mean, it's got it all.
I would go there, even though I know what's happened there. I would
Yeah,
visit, give it a
yeah,
visit.
I'd go anyway. Like
No,
even though all of this stuff is happening because, it's
yeah,
fine.
I'd be like, that's where Pierce got his foot stuck in a bear trap. This is where the severed hand was found. I'd go and find all the special locations.
Yeah, let's go see if we can find Kate's clothes. Like scavenger hunt for Kate's discarded clothes.
Oh, and especially if they did a horror hunt. How good did that sound? A horror hunt. That sounds so
Yes,
good.
that sounded
I
like a
think,
really fun scavenger hunt, but it
yeah.
seemed completely irresponsible of like the ones who knew all this stuff was going on. It seemed complete like, oh yeah, we should take part in it. That'll be the safest place to be. No, no, children.
It was very, they were very oblivious. It's like, as long as we stay together, then everything will be fine. It's like, no. But yeah, I'd like to do a horror hunt. Well, maybe we'll
Yeah,
have to like try and set one up. That would be so cool.
for
Um,
sure. Scavenger hunt to find parts of William. Mm.
hey, that's what they could have done. It'd be like, we don't know where William is. He could be anywhere. But if we give you like some rough coordinates, go off and find him. See what bit you
Yeah,
can
and like
find.
whoever finds the biggest piece wins.
You get bonus points for certain parts of the body. Oh dear. I was disappointed that the scavenger hunt didn't find pieces of William or the part of William, seeing as the police don't care. Scavenger hunt to find parts of William. That's what they should have done. They missed out a trick there. Oh dear, look. We need to write a sequel. That's what we need to do. Um but yeah, so overall I thought it was good, and it's just a classic point horror. I can forgive some of the things that went on, just because I love Tawny so much, and she should have got her own spin-off point horror where she was investigating things like Nancy Drew. That's what she should have done. Definitely. Um, the cat found everything. Just take Pet. But did we see Pet at the end? See, I was a bit worried that Pet was the one in the bath. But because I didn't think we saw Pet after towards the end. I
Oh
don't
God, did
think.
we not?
I can't remember. I might be wrong, but
Oh no.
I thought we didn't see Pet.
somebody needs to like verify Pet is alive like that, because I thought since it wasn't confirmed, I thought if it was Pet that they would have just said, "Oh my God, somebody got Pet," because she was like a little character. And though when they
Yeah.
just like the body was gone, I thought, well, no, it must have just been like a woodland creature or something. But I can't remember if we saw Pet in the flesh. I know people talked about Pet after
Mm,
that, but I can't
yeah.
remember if we saw her. Oh
I
dear.
can't either. I know. Some people are saying I have to check back, but you could be right. Yeah, I don't think we saw Pet. I think it just wasn't said that. I think it might have just been used your imagination, like Kate would, and think what might be in that bath. But yeah, I know. It's sad.
No, not
Luna's
like
put
that.
wasn't Pet in the classroom after that scene. Oh, maybe. I'm hopeful for Pet since this isn't a Stein. Yeah, so R.L. Stein is quite notorious for unfortunately killing off animals in his
Yeah.
books, and yeah, but I hope Pet's okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I wanted
hope
Pet to be
so.
okay.
Yeah. Anyway, on that note, on that cheery note, when we're all distraught what's happened to Pet, thank you for joining us, and like it's been so great talking with you. And
Oh,
do check out every in every generation and all these bodies. Do check those out. They're really good, and I really hope that you get to read like another point horror at some point, just to carry on your nostalgia trip.
it
And
definitely made me want to go back and read some that just sounded cool, and also to reread the ones that I'd already read just to see how much I remembered. Because yeah,
yeah.
it's a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me on and for inviting me
Oh no,
to
thank
take
you,
part
thank
in
you.
this super fun read. I never get to just come on and like talk about books, like a particular book, so this was super fun.
Oh no, thank you for taking the time to read it as well and getting a copy and everything. It was brilliant.
Yes, I'm so
But you have to
excited to
come
slide
back
it
on
onto my
again.
red shelf. It's just it's a pretty cover. I think it's really pretty. I like the
Yeah.
green.
Yeah, as I say, we've got like so this is our like original copy over here. But I have got that same copy as you as well. So shiny, shiny. But yeah, thank you so much. You'll have to come back on again and chat with us at some point and
Yes, yes,
find
that would be
another
super fun. Well,
crazy point horror for
yeah,
you to
there are
read.
plenty to choose from. So for sure, we should come back and like talk about that Sati book.
Yes, yeah, we should read that. I'm intrigued now. I just want to know what the cookies is all about. I'm gonna get a copy now. Oh well, thank you ever so much, and thanks to everyone who joined in and put up all the fab comments. I know I missed quite a few, but I do try and read as many as I can. But it goes really quick sometimes on there. But yeah, thank you. Oh, Narissa said The Boy Next Door, so maybe we'll have to do that one because that
Mm.
one is it's wild. But yeah, thank you ever so much. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Have a
See you
good
later.
night.
Bye.